I am Supreme. Today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on Relisha Rudd. Relisha Rudd is an American child who vanished from Washington, D.C. on March 1st, 2014 at 8 years old. And her case remains an active, unsolved missing persons investigation. Over 12 years after her disappearance, the community, law enforcement, and advocacy groups continue to hold annual awareness campaigns. In the early 2014, Relisha was living with her family at the D.C. General Family Shelter. She was befriended by Khalil Tatum, a 51-year-old janitor at the facility who had a prior criminal history. Tatum violated shelter fraternization policies by giving Relisha gifts and taking her on outings with her mother's permission. Relisha stopped attending school in February 2014. Her absences were initially masked by falsified doctor's notes signed by a Dr. Tatum. When a school counselor called the shelter to verify the notes on March 19, 2014, authorities realized she was missing. A critical 18-day delay after she was last seen. Investigators uncovered hotel surveillance footage from March 1st, 2014, showing Relisha walking down a hallway with Mr. Tatum, which is the last confirmed sighting of her alive. Now, I watched all of these footages. I even watched a lot of podcasts on Relisha Rudd. I've been watching podcasts on Relisha for the last 24 hours. I even watched the Steve Wilkos episode where her parents were on there and her grandmother. And you know Steve Wilkos got to the bottom with those lie detector tests. But guess who did not take a lie detector test? Her mother. Why did her mother not want to take a lie detector test? I listened to the mother's story. And you know what she told Steve Wilkos? She told him she don't believe in machines. She don't feel like she need to answer to a machine. Ma'am, you are the mother. If anybody should be the first to clear themselves by any means necessary. Hey, you got a lie detector? Cool. I don't have anything to hide. I want to know where my daughter at. Go ahead and take this lie detector test. Go ahead and hook me up. Because I already know I'm not lying. Because I want to know who is lying. But see, she couldn't prove that. Something is wrong with this case. Something is also wrong with her mother. I watched her mother's body language. I even know her mother's story. I watched separate podcasts on her mother and her mother's mother. Now, Relisha Rudd comes from a lineage of drug addiction, violence. You know, the whole low-income neighborhoods, and I'm not saying low, because I come from a low-income neighborhood. So, she comes from a background of violence. Like her grandmother and her mother were Drug addicts, drug addicted, violent people who couldn't keep their lives together. I watched the stories. Now, see, I come from a low income neighborhood, but I don't come from that. Like, I don't come from drug addicted, violent parents or grandparents. Not at all. So, but I don't think I'm better than people who come from a low income neighborhood. But I know what it's like to be in those low income neighborhoods. I went to school with those children, just like Relisha Rudd, whose parents sent them to school with little or nothing. They came to school smelly, and the podcasts painted Relisha Rudd as coming to school. These were confirmed interviews. Her parents sent her to school. They knew Relisha didn't even have a bed to sleep in. The way she came to school, dirty, hair all over the place. They knew something was going on at home. Now, my thing is, this janitor that was working at the shelter where Relisha and her family was staying at the time, because they constantly kept getting kicked out of places, evicted from apartments, low income apartments at that. So, you know that is a drug problem. And because I know that drugs was involved, in this case, I'm going to have a moment of silence. Because y'all know my story. That's supposed to be me. Not everybody catches themselves the way I caught myself. But it's my desire to keep telling my story and to keep exposing my shadows in hopes that somebody will know that there is hope. That is the purpose I do. That is one of the messages I carry. The message of recovery. And I have absolutely no problem at all exposing my story. I am 18 years clean. But it is a daily reprieve. I live with a beast that does not rest. It will not die. You cannot destroy the demon of addiction. You can only arrest it. And you have to arrest it using your mind. When I went through that 12-step program, I learned how to use the recovering mind to process everyday life. So I never have to use again. So with that, let's have a moment of silence for the men, women, and children who will not catch themselves, who have not caught themselves, and who have succumbed to the violent, detrimental effects of this beast of addiction. Thank you. One thing about this beast, it don't care about you. It don't care about your mother, your father, or your children. It will have you stealing from your own mother. It will have you selling your own children. One way or the other, that beast is going to feed itself through you if you don't arrest it. 18 years in the game, I got that beast right where I want him. I don't care if he never dies because I got him under my feet right where I want him. And I'm using that energy for things that are positive, constructive, and useful. I've become a whole new creature using the energy of this dark beast. That's right, I'm an alchemist. I transform my entire life using that beast. Because, see, it wants to cause destruction with all that energy. But, see, it's up to you to say no. I'm going to use all this destructive energy you gave me to construct my life and build my future. And that's what I'm doing. And I am a very powerful creature. And I'm not tooting my horn, but I am a very powerful creature. I have many irons in the fire, like the elders say. You know, you got to have more than one talent, more than one gift. I am a creative explosion. I am super creative. Okay, I even have a hard time sleeping. Not because I'm disturbed, but because I got so much energy. You could ask my wife. I'd be up all hours of the night coming up with new ideas to do this. A new project here. You know, I'm always on point and I'm always lit. So I have a hard time sleeping. Sometimes I have to force myself to relax. But I'm full of creativity. So let's get to this reading. Because I have Relisha Rudd's date of birth. I have the chart of the day she disappeared. And I also have Mr. Tatum, the man who she was last seen with. I have his planetary alignment. Oh yeah, we're going to have a high-ranking Astro-Oracle psychic investigation because I am supreme. I am a high-ranking Astro-Oracle psychic investigator. I communicate with the living and the dead for the purpose of bringing justice to communities, families, and the world at large. You are about to witness a high-ranking Astro-Oracle psychic investigation on Relisha Rudd. Now, what mother would trust her 18-year-old daughter to a criminal? He was already a criminal while he was working at the shelter. Authorities say he should have never had that job. This man has a record out this world. And that's not it. During the investigation, while Relisha was missing, Mr. Tatum's wife showed up dead at a hotel. She was shot in her head. By we now know it was Mr. Tatum that shot his own wife in the head. This all happened after Relisha went missing with him. And then, guess who was found dead? Mr. Tatum himself. But Relisha Rudd has never been found. And this is why I'm going to conduct this Astro-Oracle psychic investigation. Because the person who has all the answers has unalived himself with the same gun that he used to unalive his wife. Now, he went from being a criminal to a janitor to a doctor. Come to find out, he was never a doctor. Not only that, Relisha Rudd was missing 18 whole days before her mother reported it. Before her mother even realized she was missing. And this was her mother's excuse. Her mother said, well, Relisha was supposed to have been going to the emergency room with her grandmother. So you mean to tell me it took you 18 whole fucking days to find out that she didn't go to the emergency room? Guess what her mother's excuse was? I didn't have a phone. I caught a headache when she said that. She didn't have a phone. So she had no way to get in contact with her mother to find out whether her daughter made it to the emergency room or not. 18 whole fucking days, ma'am? Yeah, you on drugs, all right. You on some harsh drugs. And I say that one beast to another. You're on some hard fucking drugs. I'm not saying that because I'm better than you. I suffer from the same beast. Ain't no way you didn't know your daughter was missing. Not only that, you know what I actually believe? That she sold her daughter for drugs. Because one thing about an addict, we are easy to manipulate. I understand that beast because I have that beast. I don't feed the beast. The beast is starving in my field. But you best believe I know that entire mindset. She knew exactly where her daughter was, who her daughter was with. She knew Mr. Tatum was a fucking predator. I couldn't have been Steve Wilkos. Because, see, I would have had that mother crying on my show. Everybody passed the lie detector test. The stepfather, who the mother accused of having something to do with her daughter's disappearance, the stepfather passed the test with flying colors. And so did Relisha's grandmother, the one who the mother said that Relisha was last week going to the emergency room. And then another story was she was with her aunt. She was supposed to have been with her aunt. But whether she was with her grandmother, whether she was with her aunt, the stepfather, the brother, or the sister, or even the janitor who she was actually with, why the fuck did it take 18 whole days for you to do something about it? If your daughter was missing for 24 hours, as a mother in her right mind, you should have started making moves. Ain't no way it took you 18 fucking days to make moves. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's that beast. Somebody fed that beast. And that beast came before your daughter. And you know it. Yeah, I don't give a fuck whether you know I said it or not. I said it. You know it. So, the case took a darker turn as law enforcement mobilized a massive search effort. Shortly after the investigation began, Khalil Tatum's wife, Andrea, was found shot to death in a Maryland motel room. On April 1st, 2014, before police could locate or question him regarding Relisha or his wife's murder, Tatum was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at Kenilworth Park and Aquatic Gardens in D.C. Systematic failure. No. A formal city report revealed 26 distinct gaps in social, educational, and safety net systems that failed to protect Relisha, sparking public outrage. I bet it did, because I feel outraged too. And I don't even know this young lady. But I'm so sorry. And my condolences goes out to her family, including her mother. My heart goes out to her mother. And wherever her mother is at, I hope you get healing. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth, because I got that same beast. You can't lie to me about this case when it comes to your daughter. Relisha's disappearance profoundly impacted Washington, D.C.'s, forcing a total reconstruction of the city's homeless shelter system. I hope it did. The massive unsafe D.C. General Shelter was permanently closed and replaced by smaller neighborhood-based housing facilities. Because Relisha would now be a young adult in her 20s, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children periodically releases updated age-progressed photos. The case has been heavily documented to draw attention to missing black children, including a dedicated podcast series, Through the Cracks, from Waymo, and a docuseries produced by the Black and Missing Foundation. They traced Mr. Tatum at a grocery store, like a Home Depot type store, buying the thickest garbage bags that you can buy and a shovel. What the fuck was you going to do? This was all during the investigation. They traced his whereabouts, his transactions, and all of that. So, when Steve Wilkos asked her mother who let Relisha down, you know she couldn't answer that question. As a mother, you couldn't answer who let your child down. And you the one that brought that child in this world. Relisha Rudd was born October 29, 2005. On that day, the sun was in Scorpio and the moon was in Virgo. And when you put a Virgo moon in Scorpio's house, Aquarius comes first. This is Relisha Rudd's birth chart. This is Relisha Rudd's birth chart. Where is she at in her birth chart? She's a Scorpio. She's right here in the 10th house of public authority figures, which is an authority figure that she was last seen with. A fucking predator. The authority figure of predators. Now, her moon is in Virgo. And Virgo is over here in the house of death, sex, and shared resources. Now, in the positive, Virgo in the 8th house represents somebody that easily gets help from other people. Because the 8th house represents what you get from other people. And Virgo represents help, work, health, well-being. This is a person who gets all their needs met to stay healthy and to have employment and whatever it is that they need help with. This person born in this type of chart easily gets it. I'm quite sure Relisha Rudd felt safe with Mr. Tatum, and she met with foul play. Now let's get to the disappearance. On March 1st, 2014, she was last seen on surveillance. That was the last footage of Relisha Rudd. On that day, the sun and the moon was both in Pisces, the hidden. There's a lot of hidden activity that was going on that day involving this case. So let's pull that chart. When the sun and the moon is in the same sign, no matter what sign it is, that is a new moon cycle. Aries always comes first during a new moon. Aries represents the self. Where did Aries come from in Relisha's chart? It came from the 3rd house of the local environment, local travels. Now, Mars is the planet that rules Aries. Mars, the day Relisha disappeared, was in Libra, the significant other. Where is the significant other at that day? Libra. Over here in its own house, the 7th house of relationships. Now, Venus is the planet that rules Libra. It's going to elaborate on this significant other. Venus that day was in Capricorn. And Capricorn is up here in its own house of authority figures, because Capricorn is the authority figure. The same authority figure that Relisha was with in her own energy, the 10th house. Now, Pluto is the planet that rules Scorpio. Scorpio rules death, sex, and shared resources. Pluto that day was in Capricorn. Right here. The authority figure that she was seen with on public surveillance. 10th house is public, even public surveillance. Relisha's Pluto is in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is over here in the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of foreigners. The 9th house is also the house of higher knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Now, when I watch videos of Mr. Tatum, he had some tattoos on his arm of some religious symbols, including the Ankh, which is a symbol that somebody knows who they are. That is a conscious community symbol. Now, Sagittarius in Relisha's chart is right here in the 11th house of individuals, friends, groups, strangers. This is Aquarius's house. And Aquarius comes first in Relisha's chart. Now look where Aquarius is at the day she disappeared, in its own house in the 11th house. Now, look at Mr. Tatum's planetary alignment. Look where his Pluto is. His sun is in Aquarius. He is an Aquarius. So we know this is the individual that she was with, because Aquarius comes first in Relisha's energy, and Aquarius comes from its own house, the 11th house, where Sagittarius is in Relisha's chart. Because Venus is in her Sagittarius, which represents the kind of individual that she would attract to her energy. And whoever that individual is, they came from the 11th house. That's Aquarius's house, but Sagittarius is there. And Aquarius comes first. That's how we know that Khalil Malik Tatum was the last person that Relisha was with. Now, his moon is in Cancer. The moon rules Cancer. So his Cancer moon was in Relisha's 6th house of work, which is where she met him at. He was a janitor. The 6th house is the house of janitor. This is the house of maintenance. This is the house of work, employment, health, and medical. Where's Cancer at the day Relisha disappeared? Right here in the 4th house. At home. Because he took her to his home. Now, if I pull his chart, if I put the Cancer moon, his Cancer moon, in Aquarius's house, which is the 11th house, guess what comes first? Virgo, the 6th house chart. Virgo comes first in Mr. Tatum's chart. And guess where Virgo comes from? The house of death in Relisha's chart. Because Relisha Rudd was unalived by Mr. Tatum. And she was shot in her head. Let's talk about it because I wrote everything down. She was sexually assaulted by Mr. Tatum. His Mars is in Leo. I always follow Mars when violence is involved. Or if I want to find out if violence is involved. Mr. Tatum had a Mars in Leo. So he had an instinct that would attack children. Because Leo represents children. And Mars represents the assassin. He assassinated this child. Not only is his Mars in Leo, but his Pluto, which is the planet of death. His Pluto, right here, is in Virgo. And Virgo comes first in his chart. And Virgo is the same energy that unalived Relisha Rudd. Now, the day it all happened, look what's in the house of death. Relisha. She's a Scorpio. That's another reason why I know she's been unalived. She's been unalived for sure. We're just going to find her body. This is Relisha right here in the house of death. In Mr. Tatum's chart, look what's in the house of death. Aries. The same Aries that came from the very first house the day it happened. Because he was the one that unalived her. All the dots connect to him unaliving Relisha Rudd. I'm hearing voices. Because see, he killed himself. He killed himself. And I see that in the chart. He killed himself. And he killed Relisha. And he killed his wife. Now, we need to locate Relisha's body. But first, I got to get these voices out of my system. Voicemail. That's how it comes out now. As a voicemail message. Voices from this case. When I tell you I'm hearing voices, it's time to pull a voicemail message. Y'all ready for the voicemail message? This message is going to come directly from Relisha Rudd. Because I pre-shuffled this deck while I was doing my rituals in her energy before I logged on. Hearing voices. Talk to me, Relisha. in 4 cards. Let me slow down. Talk to me in 4 cards. I am so sorry this happened to you. Talk to me in 4 words. Tell me what happened to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Enemies, long distance, witchcraft, and the mother. I know her mother got something to do with it. I know that. I knew it. And Relisha is telling us herself. Witchcraft? Oh yeah, this is some witchcraft, all right. I know it. Long distance. That's Sagittarius energy. And Relisha's Pluto and Venus is in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius represents that person that showed up in the house of friends, the 11th house, which is the house that Relisha was born in. And she's right here with this individual that's in a position of authority. The hidden individual. Because the 10th house is Capricorn's house. And Capricorn is hiding over here in the house of the hidden, which is Pisces' house. And the last day that Relisha Rudd was seen, the sun and the moon was in Pisces. Money is involved. Money is involved. Now, I'm going to let Relisha pull a chart. Because I let her know ahead of time. I'm going to ask her to pull a chart. And she agreed to pull a chart in her own words to tell us what is going on. I know her mother got something to do with it. What type of witchcraft would let you trust your 8-year-old daughter with a criminal? You know that's witchcraft. That's not normal. 18 whole days before you realize your daughter's missing. 8-year-old daughter's missing. And you know she was last seen with a predator. You knew he was a predator. And you knew he had a criminal history. You damn right you was on some witchcraft. That's a hell of a spell that you was under. But that beast of addiction is what makes you vulnerable to witchcraft. Especially when that beast is in control. Now there's a long distance energy involved in this. So her body might be in a place far from where she was last seen at. But because there's a long distance energy involved. And there's more than one person involved as well. All right, Relisha, pull a chart. Open up a chart that will confirm what happened to you. Mercury in the 12th. The hidden. That's Pisces' house. And the sun and the moon was in Pisces that day. It was a new moon in Pisces. And Mercury represents the local environment. Mercury represents travel as well. It represents communications. So let's pull this chart. Because that day Mercury was in Aquarius. And guess who's in Aquarius? Mr. Tatum. Travel with Mr. Tatum. So when Mercury lands in Aquarius in the 12th house, guess what comes first? Pisces. The new moon. The actual 12th house comes first. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. Pisces. The sun and the moon was there. And this is Pisces' house. Now let's follow Pisces. Where was Pisces at the day she was last seen on surveillance? Pisces is in its own house, the 12th house. The reason why this is the 12th house that Relisha Rudd pulled was because Pisces comes first. And Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac. Now, Pisces also represents hiding and hostages. But Pisces also represents the water. There's a lot of water I see. So her body may show up in a body of water. Now, where's Pisces at in Relisha's chart? Right here in the second house of money. Hidden activity involving money. I know her mother was paid. Now, where's Pisces at in Mr. Tatum's chart? In the seventh house of relationships. The hidden partnership. And he's over here at work. Right here in the house of work. Being that he's a janitor, he knows how to clean up his mess, if you know what I mean. Because I believe that he sexually assaulted Relisha Rudd, and he was able to clean up his mess, and he discarded her body. That's why he brought all them bags and that shovel. Who is involved in the disappearance and death of Relisha Rudd other than Mr. Tatum? We know he's involved and he's dead. And I'm almost certain his wife was involved too. That's why he got rid of her. Because she knew what was going on. She knew the real deal. Who is in the energy of the disappearance of Relisha Rudd? Two people, the suspect and the witness. Even if the victim is not allowed to testify, there's always a suspect and a witness. Somebody who knows, somebody who's seen something. Who is involved in the disappearance and death of Relisha Rudd? 1, 2. Family in the first house and an employee in the 10th house. We know who this employee is, Mr. Tatum, because he's in the house of authority. Look what's in the 10th house. This is who Relisha was with. She's a Scorpio. Remember I told you in the beginning she was with this person in a position of authority. This was an employee, Mr. Tatum. Mr. Tatum comes from the 6th house. He is a 6th house person. The 6th house is the house of employees. Work. This is Virgo's house. So we know he is the employee. And she was last seen traveling with him. Gemini in the 10th. The chart that she pulled, Sagittarius is in the 10th. Long distance. Now this could have been a truck driver. He could have sold her for trafficking to a truck driver. Believe it or not, you have children that are traveling across this country sex trafficking in the trailers of trucks while you think they're transferring packages and shit. They're transferring bulks of children in those trucks. A 10th house employee is involved. That's Mr. Tatum. That is Mr. Tatum. And family in the first house, of course. Because we know this is the mother. We know that's the mother. We know that's the mother. That family card that came out, we know that's the mother. Let's look for her body. I don't want to know no more about this case, so we already know what happened. Okay, the person who had all the answers, he's been unalive. Best that he did it to himself, because it was bound to be done to him. Storage. South from where she was last seen. Storage. South from where she was last seen. In storage. I believe that. I believe that. And I believe it's a long distance. I believe that. Where they are looking for her at, she's nowhere near that. I believe he paid somebody to hide her body. And he particularly probably played a truck driver. Somebody who drives a long distance. because Sagittarius came out in the 10th house of employees as well. So I'm definitely seeing a truck driver involved. Now I'm going to pull 6 cards of evidence and I'm going to close out. 6 cards of evidence that will help us locate your body and the people involved. 6 cards that will give us clues. 6 cards that will give us clues. 6 cards of evidence that will give us clues. Because there's still hope to solve this case. Although the main suspect has been dead. Has been unalive. Clues. 6 clues that will help us solve this case. Let me put these charts aside. Because we know what happened. We know what happened. 6 cards of evidence. 6 cards of evidence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got the boy, girlfriend, legal spouse, 7th house, of course. Of course. We got a silver garment. Somebody having a silver garment. We have the letter T. Of course. Tatum. Mr. Tatum. We know who this T is. A friend and the community. Of course. Aquarius. The group. There's a friend involved of Mr. Tatum's as well. Okay? This is an 11th house card. The 11th house is all through this investigation. In the 11th house, the day it happened, you see Aquarius. That's Mr. Tatum. He's an Aquarius. We're following Aquarius and the 11th house. In the 11th house in the chart that Relisha pulled, you see the 11th house, the Capricorn, the authority figure. And look, Aquarius is right here in the 12th house. In the 11th house, in Mr. Tatum's chart, you see a family member. This is a friend of the family. He was a friend of the family. In fact, Mr. Tatum was in a relationship with somebody from Relisha Rudd's family. And I heard that in the podcast. And I believe this is the family member that came first. Somebody in her family knows more than what they are saying. Other than the mother. The mother knows too. But somebody else in the family knows, including the mother, because this is energy of family and the mother. And the mother did come out. She was part of the voicemail message. She came out in the voicemail. There is a friend of Mr. Tatum's that's involved as well. Now, this friend could have a white vehicle. Airplane, Greyhound, Amtrak, long distance. This is a long distance card. The long distance card came out in the voicemail message. Long distance is involved. I said that in the beginning of the reading. Somebody traveled long distance. Her body may be in a long distance area. South from where she was last seen. So yeah. I'm leaving this reading right here. Because it's not too late to solve this case. And that's my reading on Relisha Rudd. And may she rest in peace.